What's up guys, I am Nathan with Full Throttle Cars, and today I am bringing you a bit of a new concept of an idea for the channel. So this is going to be a intro to a series that is actually an intro to a whole nother series in the channel. We're going to be kind of starting a rebuild sort of series in the channel, and we're going to start with this Ranger 700 that we've had sitting in the barn for a good while. So this Ranger 700 has a lot of problems, just like other ATVs, potentially cars, hopefully in the future, that we will be rebuilding. So with that, let me show you guys this new vehicle that we're going to be trying to rebuild and just explain to you some of the problems that are with it and how we plan to fix it. So in the barn here, you can see all the ATVs, but this is what we're going to be working on. So this is the Ranger, and you can see it is extremely dusty. It's been sitting here in the barn next to the horse stalls for about 6 months. It was probably the last time we used it. And just right off the bat, you can see quite a few things are broken. Like this front windshield has a crack on it, which is not something you really see often on these. We've got the seat off, and I'll show you the seat is ripped, and that is one of the first things that I hope to fix, or at least to explain to you guys to fix, is this seat. I'm going to be showing you guys how to rewrap a seat. This has been sat on a lot by our dogs, and it's gotten really ripped up. So if you guys have animals, or if say your seat is ripped and you want to fix it, hopefully in the near future you will be able to do that just based on a guide on our channel. So then a quick little look into the engine. You can see this again, just more dust, something we're gonna really have to work on at first. We're gonna have to clean this up, take some pressurized air to this engine. So this is the 2007 Polaris Ranger 700 electronic fuel injection. So this engine, when it was new, put out about 40 horsepower. So I do not really believe that it's going to be able to perform at that horsepower ever again, but we're going to try to get it running as best we can. So you can see this engine, and here's just one of the first problems with it. So right here is the gas tank, and this thing right here, this is the fuel pump. That fuel pump is most likely bad. This thing will not idle at all, and when it does run, it runs rough, and you just have to keep the fuel pedal down at all times. Not all the way down, but just enough to keep it moving. So that can be a huge pain whenever you're trying to shift, because it just grinds every time that you try to shift. So the first thing we're going to do in terms of fixing the engine on this is replacing this fuel pump, and I will show you guys how to do that. I actually already have the pump and some of the other parts that go down in this whole assembly in, and they're actually sitting on my desk in my room. I might be able to show you guys that. Another thing that is wrong with this engine is the exhaust pipe. So the exhaust pipe almost definitely has a crack in it somewhere. I know it might be a bit hard for you guys to see, but right down in there, in that black area, there is a pipe, and it runs all the way to the back and out to this hole over here. So guys, the exhaust is supposed to be coming out of that area, right out of the muffler, but it is not. And so this thing is overheating every time it is supposed to idle, or if you're not moving, which that should never happen in an engine. An engine, when it is idling, should be able to cool itself just at a standstill. So we've come to deduce that the exhaust is spraying hot air from the engine back onto itself, and it is overheating. And there was actually a point, guys, when this thing caught on fire. It was very bad. Luckily, it went out pretty quick. But so those are the two, the fuel pump and then the exhaust will be the two main things that we're going to fix on this engine to try to get it running. Just I'm going to give you guys a little back shot. I'll back up here so you guys can see the whole thing. You can see we kind of jerry-rigged a little tarp on there, because another thing that is a problem with this is that whenever the exhaust is coming out of the back, it comes out of here, and since there is a windshield on the front but not on the back, it would just kind of create a suction, and the exhaust would come back in and just rotate. So it'd go out of there and rotate back, because there was a vacuum that was created inside the cab when this thing was moving with the windshield on. So that might be another thing we fix. We might just stick with the tarp. It all depends on how things work out. You guys should be able to see that there are no problems with these tires. This tire is flat, but it is a extremely new tire. Like, we bought this and barely put any miles on the vehicle after we put 2 new back tires on it. A good way to tell is that there are still these tiny threads on here after you run a vehicle for a little while. On these ATV tires, these smaller treads wear out, and that's how you can kind of tell whenever a tire has really lost its new age look. So that's just to show you guys one of the positives of this Ranger, something that we're not gonna have to fix. At least I hope not. So that's just kind of a rundown of the problems on this vehicle in terms of the motor and aesthetics. But then one more thing that is that this vehicle has a problem with is its temperature sensor. So whenever the water in this gets too hot in the radiator, the vehicle is not telling the fan to kick on. So basically the water gets too hot, but nothing's cooling it down. It just keeps going back through the engine, or the coolant anyways. And so that can be a big problem, just like the exhaust, and causing it to overheat. So that sensor is, it's reading the radiator, not telling the radiator that the vehicle is too warm. Radiator fan does not kick on, and then the vehicle continues to warm up. That exhaust continues to blow on the motor. It gets even hotter and even hotter, and eventually the vehicle either catches on fire or it stalls. And that's just terrible in both of those instances, for safety and for the vehicle itself. So just to give you guys a rundown so far of all the problems that this thing has, is a bad water temperature sensor, a bad exhaust pipe, a bad fuel pump, and a bad seat. Now this tarp, I wouldn't guarantee that to be something that's wrong with it. We definitely could use another see-through plastic bit for the back of this, but that might just be above the budget for fixing this thing. But anyway guys, I hope you really do enjoy this video series that we're going to start with this Ranger. Fixing this, we're just going to be able to see if it gets running first. We'll clean it out. The next video will basically just be going and cleaning out all of the engine and all of the front with pressurized air, and then maybe pressure washing it. Not positive on the pressure washing just because of all the problems it has, and that might damage it further. Yeah, but with all that said, I think that's pretty much all that needs to be done for the intro of this video. So I'm in the barn here, as you guys can see. I'll have the Ranger here in the background. But so if you did enjoy this intro video, and if you do want to see this vehicle fixed and see more vehicles fixed in the future, please do let Nick and I know on the channel. But with that said, I will see you guys in the next one.